Hello, welcome to Walking Through Acts. This is episode number 42, and the location in the book of Acts where we are reading, walking through, and making brief commentaries and observations and such like is chapter 27, verse 39. Chapter 27, verse 39. If you want to locate that, you're welcome to read along when I do, or you can just listen when I get ready to go, ready to read. You can just listen. That's okay too. Well, those who are familiar with the Bible know we must be near the end of this, and we are. I don't know if we'll finish in this episode or not. It'll be the next one for sure if it's not today. I'm not going slow or fast. I'm just going along at a walking pace, you might say, and without prepared notes to have so much information to cover. Rather, it's just however it happens to come to me at the time that I want to comment on what we've just read. And so, with that said, I don't know. I'm not sure. It'll be either this time or next time that we finish. One more thing I'll say before getting back to the reading, and that is that Paul the Apostle, of course, is at the center of what Luke is recording here about uh, his being transported to Rome. As a Roman citizen, he had rights, one of which was an appeal to Caesar, legal appeal. And so he's being taken there along with others. In fact, I think that was one of the last things I said last time was that on this ship out in the Mediterranean, there were 276 persons on board. The reason we know, Luke says so. I won't go back and review more about the trip, except to say they are nearing a shipwreck on the coast of on the island of Malta, and I mean it is one violent storm that God has revealed to Paul. If people will stay on board, they'll all be saved. If they start taking off, that's not that condition is not being met. No promises then are going to be kept without us, without the people there. And so when we left off, they were staying with the boat, with the ship. It's going to break up and such like, so you can't stay with the ship forever, but for sure, no jumping off or getting in a skiff and taking off if you wish to be saved. And okay, I think that'll be all I say before getting back to the reading. Verse 39. When it was day, they did not recognize the land, but they observed a bay with a beach onto which they planned to run the ship, if possible, and they let go the anchors and left them in the sea, meanwhile loosing the rudder ropes, and they hoisted the mainsail to the wind and made for shore. But striking a place where two seas met, they ran the ship aground, and the prow stuck fast and remained immovable, but the stern was being broken up by the violence of the waves. And the soldiers' plan was to kill the prisoners, lest any of them should swim away and escape. But the centurion, wanting to save Paul, kept them from their purpose and commanded that those who could swim should jump overboard first and get to the land, and the rest, some on boards and some on parts of the ship. And so it was that they all escaped safely to the land. That's the end of chapter 27. We'll get back to the reading here in just a moment in chapter 28. It's a fascinating story that Luke is telling. He's on board the ship, and I don't mean to say God's Holy Spirit couldn't inspire him to speak about it if he hadn't been there, but I'm just saying he is there, and really it's interesting to read the details that God and Luke wish to provide in this part of the scriptures about this shipwreck on the coast of Malta. And once again, I say once again, it would go back a couple lessons ago, 39 maybe, 40. Once again, the protector, the centurion of the prisoners, and Paul included, was favorably inclined towards Paul and wanted to protect him, it says here. And before, he had even let him visit with some of his acquaintances when the ship was in dock, we'd say, and it would seem to be he trusted him not to run off and escape. But whatever the case might be, it's amazing how that providence, let's call it, God's influences, blessing, enables not only Paul but the prisoners as well to be spared from being killed. That was probably normally the procedure. If the prisoners are going to escape, don't let them, shoot them. Well, they didn't have guns back then, but kill them. And let's just keep going. Chapter 28:1. Now, when they had escaped, they then found out that the island was called Malta, and the natives showed us unusual kindness, for they kindled a fire and made us all welcome, because of the rain that was falling and because of the cold. But when Paul had gathered a bundle of sticks and laid them on the fire, a viper came out because of the heat and fastened on his hand. So when the natives saw the creature hanging from his hand, they said to one another, "No doubt this man is a murderer, whom though he has escaped the sea, yet justice does not allow to live." But he shook off the creature into the fire, suffered no harm. However, they were expecting that he would swell up or suddenly fall down dead. But after they had looked for a long time and saw no harm come to him, they changed their minds and said, "He was a god." In that region, let me just stop there. There's more that I think we'll read before time expires today, but let me just stop and comment on this little part here. It's a boisterous storm and cold and rainy and all of that. But the locals were very nice to get help get a fire going. Paul seems to help too by gathering some sticks, or somehow he's got some kindling, and he's going to be helpful and put some sticks on the fire. And in so doing, because of the heat, a snake, a viper, comes out of it because of the heat and sees, I guess, the opportunity there. Maybe feel I don't get in the minds of snakes, but for whatever reason, the opportunity is there to latch on or bite, we'd say, the hand of Paul. And he's hanging on his hand. It's not like a quick snap, bang, and a bite like that, and then he's gone. He's hanging there. And the locals, they know snakes, and they think, well, okay, superstitiously, they think, this man must be one bad man because somehow he escaped the storm like is going on, or tailing off maybe, but still going on, and gets to land, and something like this happens. People think superstitiously like that. But then when they watch, well, he's surely going to swell up, fall over, die. Nothing happens. It doesn't seem to, be sort of like a mosquito bite, It's just like, well, get off here, And nothing happened to him. For dying, yeah, is one option, one possibility, one consequence of it. He's not even swelling up or anything. This reminds me of Mark chapter 16, where at the end of that book, Jesus indicates to the apostles that if they are faithful believers in him and go about doing his work for them as apostles, they will do some wonderful things. And one of the ones he mentions was take up deadly snakes, and if it bites them. In fact, I think I'll take a moment or two here. Yeah, okay, there you go. I thought I'd just, instead of just reference it, I'll go and read it. And this is Mark 16:17. "These signs will follow those who believe. In my name they will cast out demons. They will speak with new tongues." Here it is. "They will take up serpents, and if they drink anything deadly, it will by no means hurt them. They will lay hands on the sick," and so forth. So there you go. Now, was Jesus thinking about coming up will be Paul doing this? It could be that there were other times the apostles had this happen as well. But here's one. Here's one. And anyway, wonderful miracle of God. Okay, back to Acts chapter 28. Oh, did I say? I don't think I did. That they then switch and say, not superstitiously, he must be a bad man, but they switch and say, he must be a god. Okay, back to verse 7. "In that region there was an estate of the leading citizen of the island, whose name was Publius, who received us and entertained us courteously for 3 days. And it happened that the father of Publius lay sick of a fever and dysentery. Paul went into him and prayed, and he laid his hands on him and healed him. So when this was done, the rest of those on the island who had diseases also came and were healed. They also honored us in many ways. And when we departed, they provided such things as were necessary. So not only the miracle of the being bitten by the viper and surviving it for Paul, but Paul doing it for others, starting with a leading fellow of the island, his father being very ill. Paul miraculously healed him, and then others are likewise benefited with healings and so forth. So quite a wonderful thing to behold. Okay, let me glance at the time. I think what I'm going to do is make this a short one, and the next one will be the concluding, and it'll be short too, episode or installment of this series. And the reason I'm thinking that right now is that I could go quickly through the remainder, but I just would prefer not to make it a long ending. And so I think I'll stop here. And we'll pick up next time and for the last time in chapter 28, verse 11. That'll be walking through Acts. I believe it's number 43, if I recall. This is 42. So that will wrap it up. And probably the end of this week, or at the latest, maybe Sunday, a week from now. But anyway, keep a watch or an ear out for that. Should be hopefully coming soon. Thank you for joining me for this one, though. Thanks.